The planet Arelon was dying. Its sky had once been a soft blue, but now it was filled with red clouds and dark storms. The sun flickered, sending bursts of deadly radiation across the land. Earthquakes shook the cities, and the rivers were drying up. The people of Arelon, called the Ariel, had lived peacefully for thousands of years. But now, their home was turning against them. Elder Cyril, the oldest member of the council, stood on a high platform in the capital city. He looked down at the crowds of worried citizens. "Our planet is in danger," he said in his calm voice, but everyone could hear the fear in it. "We have sent messages to the nearby star nations. We asked for help, but none have come. We must think of another way." Cyril's assistant, a young Errol named Lerai, stepped forward. Lerai was small, with light green skin and bright eyes that seemed to shine even in the dim light of the polluted sky. "Elder Cyril," he said, "we cannot wait. The storms are getting worse. We need action now, not words." The council had tried to contact other worlds. The Callan Union, the Varen Bloc, and the High Concord were the most powerful nearby civilizations. Their ships came sometimes to scan the planet, but they always left quickly. When the council asked for help, the empires offered very little. They said that saving Arelon would be too costly or too dangerous. Some even offered to take only a few Arel as refugees, but only if the rest gave up all their land and resources. The council had refused these offers. They would not abandon billions of people to die for a handful of survivors. "We cannot rely on them," Cyril said. "We have waited too long. Soon, it will be too late." He turned to Lerai. "What is your plan, young one?" Lerai took a deep breath. He had been studying old records for months, trying to find any clue that could save the planet. He pointed to a dusty archive. "There are old reports about a place called Earth," he said. "It is far away, beyond the dark spiral arm of the galaxy. The records say the people there are strong. The galaxy calls them Deathworlders because their planet is dangerous, but they survive. They can face storms, radiation, and earthquakes." The council looked at him in surprise. No Errol had ever considered contacting Earth. It was distant and unknown. Most Errol had been taught to avoid the dangerous worlds and focus only on their own. But now, in desperation, they had no choice. "Send a signal," Cyril said after a pause. "Tell them we are dying. Tell them we need help." Lerai worked day and night to send the message. He used every transmitter the Errol had, spreading the signal across the stars. He encoded the message simply, "We are the Errol of Arelon. Our planet is dying. Please, help us. We offer friendship. We have no wealth or weapons, only our lives." Then, he added the coordinates of their home system. Far away, on Earth, the message reached the orbital array above the moon. Technician Alex Carter was monitoring signals when he noticed the strange transmission. It was different from anything he had seen. He checked it again and again. The language was strange, but it was understandable. He realized immediately that someone was asking for help. He ran to Commander Lisa Brooks, who was in charge of the orbital array. "Commander, you need to see this," Alex said. "It's a distress call from outside the galaxy." Lisa looked at the data. The signal came from a planet in a remote system. She frowned. "Outside the galaxy? Are you sure?" she asked. "I've checked everything," Alex said. "The planet is called Arelon. The message says the people are in danger. They call themselves the Errol. It's urgent." Lisa rubbed her eyes. "Earth is new to this part of space. We are still considered dangerous by many. They call us Deathworlders. But we have helped smaller colonies before. maybe this is another chance to prove ourselves. She called a meeting with world leaders. They debated for hours. Some said it was too dangerous. Others worried that the nearby empires would not like Earth interfering. Some suggested ignoring the message. But most remembered their own history. Humanity had survived wars, storms, and plagues. They knew what it meant to plead for help and hear silence in return. Eventually, the decision was made. Earth would respond. A fleet was assembled. Commander Lisa would lead the mission. Alex would go with her as communications officer. Other human engineers, soldiers, and medical staff were chosen. They prepared for a long journey, far beyond the parts of space humans knew well. Ships were loaded with supplies, tools, and equipment. Everyone knew it would be dangerous, but the hope of saving millions was worth it. Back on Arelon, Lirai watched the stars. He hoped that Earth would answer their call. Storms had grown worse, and radiation flares had damaged the northern cities. Children slept in shelters, while adults repaired crumbling buildings. The Arel had never experienced war or disasters of this scale. They were gentle, creative, and kind. Their society was not built for survival in extreme conditions, but they had no choice. The day came when human ships left Earth and Moon bases. Their engines flared, leaving trails of blue and white light. Families watched from orbiting observation posts, amazed that humans were finally taking action. Elder Cyril and the council stood together. Some Errol whispered prayers. Some simply held hands. Everyone hoped the stories about Earth were true. Alex monitored the journey. He was nervous, but focused. "This is going to be difficult," he told Lisa. "We don't know what we will find when we arrive. The planet is unstable. The people are not used to disasters like ours." "I know," Lisa said, "but we cannot ignore them. Someone has to answer when they call." Days passed in hyperspace. The humans trained for every possible problem. Engineers checked systems, soldiers practiced rescue drills, and medical staff prepared for large-scale emergencies. Alex spent hours studying the Errol signal, making sure they would understand human messages when they arrived. On Arelon, the storms continued. Trees were uprooted, rivers flooded, and parts of cities collapsed. Lirai worked tirelessly to prepare shelters and plan evacuation routes. He coordinated volunteers, making sure every child and elder had a place to go. Yet, despite the work, he worried that it might not be enough. The planet was dying faster than anyone had predicted. Finally, the human fleet appeared on the edge of the Arelon system. Small Errol sensors detected enormous ships moving slowly through space. Alarms rang in the cities. People had never seen anything like this. The sky was filled with massive hulls, engines glowing. Some Errol thought it was the empires arriving to claim the dying planet. Fear spread quickly. Elder Cyril stood again on the high platform. He raised his hands. "Do not panic," he said. "These may be our rescuers. We must hope." Lirai looked at the ships and held his breath. Human shuttles began to descend to the planet. Dust rose in thick clouds as landing thrusters kicked up soil. The Errol watched from rooftops and balconies. Some hid, some ran toward the landing zones, unsure whether to greet strangers or flee. The first human figures emerged from the shuttles. They were tall, strong, and covered in suits to protect them from the harsh air. They moved slowly, carefully, showing no aggression. Commander Lisa stepped forward, removing her helmet. She breathed in the thick, dusty air, showing trust to the Errol. Alex followed, carrying communication devices. Behind them, human engineers and soldiers moved with precision, preparing to help. Elder Cyril felt a tear on his cheek. He had feared that no one would come. Now, finally, hope arrived. "Welcome," he said, his voice trembling. We are the Errol. Please, help us. Lisa nodded. We heard your call. We are here to help, she said. We will do everything we can. On that first day, humans and Errol met face to face. They shared information, made plans, and began small rescue actions. The Errol were amazed by the humans' strength, their courage, and their willingness to risk danger for strangers. For the first time in many years, they felt that perhaps they could survive. As night fell over Erelin, fires still burned in damaged cities. But in one place, a light glowed in the darkness. It came from human landing zones, from shelters, and from hearts that finally dared to hope. The first step had been taken. The call had been answered. And for the Errol, the future felt possible again. The next morning, the Errol awoke to the sound of human engines and the hum of machines. The humans moved carefully through the dusty streets of the capital city, setting up tents and equipment. They worked quickly, but they never rushed in a way that would scare the people. Children peeked from behind walls, and elders watched silently, still unsure if these strangers were friends or invaders. Commander Lisa walked with Elder Cyril through the damaged streets. We are here to help, she said again, in a calm voice. We will do what we can to protect your people and save your planet. Cyril nodded, though he still felt a deep worry. The storms could destroy anything, and he had seen too many promises fail. Yet there was something different about these humans. They moved with purpose and care, not greed or fear. Lirai joined them, guiding humans to areas most in need. He had studied the planet for years and knew which cities would flood, which buildings would collapse, and which regions were too dangerous for rescue without special tools. The humans listened closely, taking notes, asking questions, and adapting their plans. Lirai had never seen such teamwork before. We need to start with shelters, said Alex, adjusting the controls on a portable communication device. Many cities are exposed to radiation from the unstable sun. We can build temporary shelters underground and connect them to power systems from our ships. It will be safe for families until we can improve the cities. He looked at the Errol workers, who were watching nervously. We will teach you how to maintain them. You will not depend on us forever. A group of Errol volunteers quickly gathered to help. Some carried tools, others guided children and the elderly. The humans worked side by side with them, showing simple ways to dig, build supports, and protect weak structures. The Errol marveled at the efficiency and strength of the humans. Even the smallest workers could lift heavy beams or operate powerful tools. The humans were clearly used to harsh worlds, and their calmness in danger reassured everyone. Later, a human engineer named Daniel led a team to the northern city, which had suffered severe damage from earthquakes. The streets were cracked and uneven, and many buildings were partially collapsed. The team carefully moved debris and carried injured Errol to temporary medical tents. One young Errol child clutched Daniel's arm, afraid to let go. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. We will keep you safe." The child's mother watched from a distance, tears in her eyes. Meanwhile, other human ships remained in orbit, coordinating supplies and providing data from satellites. Alex connected human systems to Errol networks, allowing real-time communication across the cities. Errol, who had never used such technology, quickly learned to follow instructions and warnings. When a small quake shook the capital, alarms went off immediately, and humans and Errol rushed to secure buildings and evacuate families. The first test of trust came when a sudden storm struck the eastern plains. The winds ripped roofs from houses, and dust filled the air. The Errol froze in fear, but the humans acted immediately. Powered suits allowed them to move through the debris safely. They pulled children from collapsing homes, carried elderly citizens to shelters, and reinforced structures before the winds could tear them down completely. The Errol watched in amazement. They had never seen anyone face danger with such courage. After the storm, Elder Cyril walked among the human teams, observing their work. He noticed a human medic tending to dozens of injured Errol at once. She worked without rest, speaking in gentle tones and treating wounds efficiently. How can they do so much without fear? Cyril asked Lirai quietly. Lirai shook his head. I do not know, Elder. They seem to be made for danger. Yet they do it to help, not to gain anything. As the days passed, human teams built more shelters, reinforced bridges, and began work on the first shield tower. The shield tower was a tall structure, designed to protect the surrounding city from radiation and harsh weather. Errol workers carried materials, while humans supervised and guided them. Every mistake was corrected calmly, and every success was praised. The Errol began to feel hope growing inside them. One evening, Alex noticed unusual signals in the orbital network. He traced them and realized that other fleets were approaching the system. The Callan Union and Varen block ships were now near Erelon, observing the human operations. Their presence worried the Council. These empires had refused help before, and now they might try to take control. Lisa received a secure message from the Callan fleet. It was a warning. They claimed that Erelon was under their jurisdiction and demanded that the humans leave immediately. Lisa read it carefully, then turned to her officers. We will not abandon these people, she said. They called for help. We are here. If anyone interferes, we will respond. But our first priority is the Errol. Lirai gathered with the council to discuss the warning. They will try to take control, he said. But the humans are different. They do not come for power or wealth. They come to protect us. Elder Cyril nodded, feeling a new sense of courage. Then we will trust them. We have no other choice. The next challenge came when construction on the shield tower began. The northern section of the city was still unstable, and one of the main foundations cracked under the weight of materials. Human engineers worked with Errol volunteers to reinforce it. When a massive storm approached, Daniel and another human climbed the tower in powered suits. They braved strong winds and falling debris to secure the structure. One suit failed partially, but they held on, preventing a collapse. The Errol watched from a distance, unable to comprehend such bravery. During these days, human medics trained Errol volunteers in basic emergency care. They taught them how to clean wounds, stabilize injuries, and prepare for radiation exposure. Children learned to follow safety signals, and families learned evacuation routes. Slowly, the Errol started to feel capable of surviving. They had help, yes, but they also learned to take part in their own rescue. Meanwhile, the empires continued to observe. Some Callan ships moved closer, curious and suspicious. Lisa communicated openly, showing their work, their shelters, and the ongoing rescue operations. She did not threaten or attack. She simply continued the mission, ensuring that Errol lives were protected. Her calm and steady approach impressed even some of the observing empires, who began to question whether their earlier refusals were right. As the shield tower neared completion, a second storm approached the city. This time, everyone was prepared. Alarms sounded across the networks, and humans and Errol moved families into shelters and reinforced buildings. The tower stood firm, blocking radiation and harsh winds. The Errol cheered as the storm passed, realizing that survival was possible. During the celebrations, Lirai spoke to Alex and Lisa. We have never seen such courage, he said. You risk your lives for strangers. Why do you do this? Alex smiled. Because once, our planet needed help too. We know what it is to call and hear nothing. We cannot ignore anyone else Who calls for help? Elder Cyril watched from his office as humans and Errol worked together, repairing damage and preparing for the next steps. The city was still broken in places, but for the first time in years, people slept without fear. Children played in the streets, and families cooked meals safely. Hope had returned. The human fleet continued to orbit, monitoring conditions and providing supplies. Alex stayed at the communication hub, relaying information between the humans on the ground, the ships above, and the Errol networks. Every warning, every instruction, and every success passed through his hands. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the satisfaction of knowing that millions of lives were slowly being saved. By the end of the second week, the Errol had begun to trust the humans fully. They helped in construction, medical care, and communications. They learned quickly, and their cooperation allowed humans to accomplish more. The first shield tower was complete, protecting a large portion of the northern city. Temporary shelters were scattered across other cities, giving families safe spaces during storms. And most importantly, the Errol began to believe that their planet might survive, even if it was damaged. Commander Lisa gathered her officers one evening. "We have done much," she said, "but this is only the beginning. The planet is unstable, and more storms will come. We must continue to build shelters, strengthen structures, and teach the Errol to survive on their own. Our work is not finished until everyone is safe." Her officers nodded, ready for the challenges ahead. As night fell over the capital, human lights illuminated the city, casting long shadows across broken streets. The Errol looked on, amazed and grateful. For the first time, they truly understood what it meant to have the stars answer their plea. The Deathworlders had come, not to conquer, but to save. And in that moment, the people of Errolin dared to hope that the future was not yet written. They had allies, they had protection, and they had humans who would risk everything for strangers. The story of survival had begun, and it would grow stronger with each passing day. The days passed quickly on Errolin. Humans and Errol worked together, side by side. The first shield tower stood tall, protecting the northern city from radiation and storms. But there was still much to do. Many areas were damaged, and the unstable sun sent dangerous flares that could destroy whole neighborhoods. The humans began planning a larger project, a network of shield towers across the planet, and a system to move people safely into orbit if needed. Alex monitored communications from the orbital hub. He stayed busy connecting human systems to Errol networks. He taught Errol volunteers how to read alerts and respond quickly. "We must be ready," he said to a small group of Errol. "Storms can come without warning, and we need everyone to know where to go and what to do." The Errol listened carefully. They had never experienced such technology before, but Alex's calm voice helped them understand. Commander Lisa led a team to inspect the construction of a new shield tower in the eastern city. The ground there had cracked during recent quakes, and the buildings nearby were weak. Humans and Errol worked together to reinforce foundations. Lerai guided them, explaining which areas were most unstable. The humans listened to him, and the Errol felt proud to have their knowledge valued. One day, a massive storm approached unexpectedly. Dark clouds rolled across the sky, and high winds tore through the streets. Many Errol froze in fear, unsure what to do. The humans sprang into action immediately. Powered suits allowed them to move through debris safely. Daniel, the engineer, who had risked his life during the first storm, ran toward a collapsing building. Inside, several families were trapped. He lifted beams, carried children, and guided the adults out to safety. Other humans and Errol volunteers followed his lead. The storm raged for hours. Dust and debris filled the air. Roofs were torn off houses, and cracks opened in streets. Yet thanks to the humans' preparation, most people reached the shelters safely. Temporary barriers held buildings together, and the shield tower blocked much of the radiation. When the storm finally passed, the Errol came out to see the damage. They expected devastation, but most families were safe. Cheers rose from the shelters and streets. Elder Cyril walked through the city after the storm. He stopped in front of the shield tower, looking at the humans who were repairing minor damage. "They are brave beyond belief," he said to Lirai. "They risk their lives for us, and they ask nothing in return." Lirai nodded. "They are Deathworlders, Elder. Their home must be harder than anything we know. Perhaps that is why they can face this danger." In orbit, human engineers worked on the space elevator that would connect the surface to orbiting stations. It was a massive project, designed to move people and supplies quickly if the planet became too dangerous. Alex coordinated the work, sending instructions to teams on the ground and in orbit. The Errol marveled at the speed and precision of the humans. "They can move mountains," one volunteer said quietly, "and yet they do it without fear or anger." As the Errol and humans worked, another problem appeared. In the orbital network, Alex noticed unusual signals. At first, he thought it was a malfunction. But then he realized someone was interfering with communications. A small team investigated and discovered a Varan agent had planted false data to create confusion. If left unchecked, it could cause accidents on the space elevator and endanger lives. Alex and Lirai traced the signals and quickly warned all teams. Humans and Errol worked together to fix the problem. The agent was captured, and the sabotage stopped. The Errol were shocked that someone would try to harm them. "Why would anyone do this?" an Errol volunteer asked. Alex shook his head. "Some people care only for power, not for life. We cannot stop them all, but we can protect each other." The empires watching from orbit were not happy. Callan ships sent messages demanding that the humans leave the system. They claimed that Earth had no right to interfere. Lisa received the warning but refused to retreat. She sent a message back. "We are here because the Arl asked for help. We will continue to protect them. Any attack on our operations will be seen as an attack on civilians." On the ground, humans and Errol continued their work despite the tension. Temporary shelters were reinforced. Water and food supplies were distributed, and more shield towers were built. Each day brought new challenges, but each day also brought progress. The Errol began to trust the humans completely. They learned quickly, working alongside engineers, medics, and soldiers. One particularly dangerous day, a quake struck the eastern city while a shield tower was still under construction. Massive beams and equipment began to fall. Daniel and two other engineers ran to stabilize the tower. They climbed high above the ground, holding beams in place until Errol volunteers could secure them. One of Daniel's powered suits failed partially, and he fell a short distance, injuring his leg. Medics rushed to help, but he insisted on finishing the work first. The tower stabilized, and the city was safe. The Errol watched in awe, whispering to each other about the courage of these humans. With each completed tower, each repaired street, and each saved family, hope grew stronger. The Errol children began playing near the human camps, learning to follow safety signals and evacuation routes. Families cooked meals together in shelters, sharing stories of survival. The humans not only saved lives, but they also taught the Errol how to protect themselves. Lirai noticed the change in his people. "They no longer tremble at every storm," he said to Elder Cyril. "They prepare, they act, and they survive. Your people are strong, Elder, because of the humans, but also because they see the courage inside themselves." Cyril smiled, feeling hope he had not felt in years. Meanwhile, Human medics trained Aral volunteers in more advanced care. They taught them how to stabilize injuries, treat radiation sickness, and manage large groups in emergencies. Small Aral hospitals began to function efficiently with mixed teams of humans and Aral. Alex coordinated the work from orbit and on the surface, ensuring everyone had instructions and support. As the shield tower network expanded, humans and Aral built a communications hub for warnings and updates. Children learned to follow alerts, families practiced drills, and volunteers monitored weather and radiation conditions. Slowly, the Aral felt capable of surviving the worst the planet could throw at them. The empires continued to watch. Some Callan and Varan ships moved closer to observe, but the humans remained calm. Lisa broadcast the progress openly, showing the shelters, shield towers, and evacuation operations. The transmissions went out across the galaxy. Smaller worlds began to send support, inspired by humanity's dedication. The galaxy could see what Deathworlders truly were. Not conquerors, but protectors. One evening, after another storm passed, Alex, Lirai, and Daniel walked through the northern city. The streets were dusty and damaged, but families moved safely through them. Children laughed as they ran between shelters. Volunteers worked together to repair small structures. The humans watched quietly, satisfied, but not proud. They had more work to do, and they knew it. "We have done much," Alex said quietly, "but this planet is far from safe. More storms will come, and the sun will flare again. We must keep going." Daniel nodded, checking his equipment. "We are ready. We cannot stop now. These people depend on us, and we will not fail." Lisa joined them, looking over the city. Every tower, every shelter, every life saved is proof that hope can grow even in the darkest times. "We will continue to protect them until the planet is stable or they are safe in space. That is our mission." That night, as humans and Aral rested, the northern city glowed with lights from shelters and tents. The shield towers stood tall, casting long shadows across cracked streets. The people of Aralan had begun to believe they could survive. They had allies, and they had humans who would risk everything for strangers. The call to the stars had been answered, and hope had returned stronger than ever. Storms and challenges would come again. But now, the Aral knew something new. They were not alone. The Deathworlders were here, and they would not turn away. And with that knowledge, the people of Aralan began to dream of a future where their world could survive, where their children could play safely, and where hope was stronger than fear.